The draft lottery wound up with Cooper Flagg dropping into the lap of the Dallas Mavericks. And Nico Harrison went from bag fumbler to holding all the cards. The ultimate card, the greatest hand being dealt by the NBA draft lottery. Maybe since Wembanyama, and after that, one of the better hands dealt you can remember. Certainly with Jay Billis, who would know, calling Cooper Flagg the greatest freshman in the history of Duke basketball, and they've had a ton of them. And let me just address first. Anybody who thinks that the NBA decided to make Dallas whole because they were the ones who, on behalf of the NBA, gave the Lakers their next generational superstar in the latest line of generational superstars, just as their current generational superstar is getting set to retire, is just off their rockers, out of their gourds. It is just the silliest notion possible. There isn't enough NDAs to be given out to prevent anything like that leaking out. It's insane, is really what it is, and would require, as Howard Beck of The Ringer said yesterday, the complicity of your Sixers. You think Daryl Morey would be just like, sure, you know what? Nico Harrison just decided to have the greatest pocket listing in the history of NBA trades and is completely on the hot seat in Dallas. The fans hate him there. Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Nico.
I mean, the Lakers have Luka now, and that's the most important franchise in the NBA. So you take Cooper Flagg, put him in Dallas. We don't need him here, right? The Utah Jazz, who got absolutely hosed again by the draft lottery.
Yeah, Danny Ainge, he's cool with it.
Well, I mean, the owner's there. Sure. The owner who's sitting there, she was happy to be complicit in making sure the Mavericks are properly compensated for their hard work of giving Luka to the Lakers, because that's the most important thing for the NBA, is to make the Lakers happy out of all the other 29 franchises. It makes complete and total sense. All those folks were complicit. Ernst & Young would absolutely place their brand on this fraud, which it would be.
Yeah.
Stupid. But the NBA is, out of all the sports, the biggest conspiracy theory hornet's nest.
For sure. They've had so many fishy things over the years.
Oh, sure.
You know, dating way back, but, you know, starting with the first lottery and then Michael Jordan's retirement.
Right. Don't forget the Chris Paul trade to the Lakers got rescinded.
The nixing of that. Right. Yeah, the nixing of that trade to the Lakers. And
which, by the way, runs completely counter to the current conspiracy theory where the Lakers are catered to.
Right, right. And then, you know, then first round picks. But everyone brings up the first round picks. So then why didn't Zion go to the Knicks? Then why wasn't that rigged for it's rigged for New Orleans?
Right.
What are we doing?
Exactly. What are we doing?
It's really dumb.
And unfortunately, Tim Donaghy gave credence to all the tinfoil hat wearers.
He did.
That's part of the problem.
Yeah, he did.
So there's that one thing.
Yeah.
So the draft lottery itself is the problem, because their anti-tanking formula to give the three worst records, the teams with the three worst records, the same chance of winning the number one overall pick, 14%. That leads to an evening of the playing field, thus there'll be less tanking, as if the Jazz, Wizards, and Hornets didn't remove stars, or suddenly a lot of, my arm, or illnesses, right? We have a fantasy league. If you've got an NBA fantasy league, you see the reasons why some of these stars are out. Certainly if you're in the playoffs, 2 weeks to go in the season, all of a sudden, now we're going to have season-ending surgeries. We're going to have illnesses that can't be explained, although clearly Porzingis is not one of them. Right. I'm not equating these things. You see what I'm saying, right? So it really doesn't stop some of this behavior. But what it does is it doesn't allow the Wizards, Jazz, or Hornets to get the top 3 picks in the NBA draft. And as a matter of fact, they're not even in the top. None of the 3 are in the top 3 picks. The best odds didn't even put them in the top 3. So what are we doing? And you guys, I think, if I'm not mistaken, because I hear what you talk about before we're on the air. I hear it. I may look like I'm a lead pipe wielding professional who's only locked in on one thing. I'm a lead pipe wielding professional that can do 2 things at once.
You're on the phone.
Like maybe listen. I'm cutting deals, as you may or may not know.
I've read that.
Okay, so I can also listen and do something else. Unlike my audio executive, whose job it is to listen.
We've seen this.
And do something else. But God bless you. You got your Emmys and all that business. But the reason why I bring all this up is I hear it. Do you guys really want to bring the draft lottery to the National Football League?
Yes.
Are you out of your skull?
I told you yesterday, let me set the scene for you. It's you the Thursday before the Super Bowl, man. And now it's pomp and circumstance, Chris. And there's you got legends representing each team. And here comes Rich with the microphone. And boom, we're pulling envelopes out of the hat.
Me. Sure.
Yeah, why not you?
You know what? Are you saying that just because you know I'm so dead set against it that you think like what you're?
No, well, I'm trying to actually say I think you're kind of good at your job.
Well,
Maybe that's why.
Here's the thing, and I was on this a decade ago. I think it's a great idea.
It's
obviously,
a terrible idea.
It's another gigantic event. We know that the NFL loves events.
I agree.
It's something you could televise. Greeny made a passionate case for it today on Get Up. Why are you against it?
Yeah, why?
Because
you need to convince us that it's not a good idea because every other major sport now does this.
Because they have a problem with tanking. The NFL does not have a problem with tanking.
What is Major League Baseball's issue with there is no tanking in Major League Baseball?
Well, it's because the way that things are all constructed with their salary structure that there's only a handful of teams that can actually win the sport.
Hockey, the National Hockey League has a tanking problem. We think the NBA has a tanking problem because because of load management. Yeah. But that is to keep players healthy for the playoffs. And football, you said it yourself, you can't tank in the NFL. So why are we rewarding these crappy run organizations and teams that can't develop players, which we've seen historically?
Right
why are we sending the best players to those teams?
To the worst
because those franchises need to have fan bases that feel that they can actually make the playoffs in just a span of 1 or 2 drafts. New England Patriot fan who keeps talking about how everything's turned around. That's why you have hope. Could you imagine you have one of the worst seasons the Patriots have had in a long ass time, and you don't get Drake May because a ping pong ball doesn't pop the right way?
Guess
and
what?
Some team,
we didn't get the first pick either year because they won games.
And so that
was stupid.
Guess what? That actually happened because you have to win games in the NFL. There's actual consequences. You need to win all the way to the end. There's a grown-ass man league where there's an actual desire to win regardless of how many losses you have.
Those other leagues don't care about winning?
No, they don't. How does that sound?
What do you mean there's zero difference? So you're saying the football players and the organizations care more about winning?
Hell yeah.
Case in point, the Dallas Cowboys don't care about winning.
How many times have I said this since I've been in this mic?
The New York Jets, the Cleveland Browns, all these teams don't care about winning.
Oh, is that right?
Care about making money, worry about building the Cowboy brand.
Let me just say this again.
Care about winning football games.
What if the New England Patriots wound up losing the opportunity to get Drake May because a team that traded away one of their greatest stars, leaving a massive gaping hole in their roster, their locker room, but most importantly, the hearts and minds of their fan base? What if just...
It doesn't happen in the NFL, though.
Come on.
It doesn't happen in the NFL.
When Luka got traded, didn't we come on the show and say it would be equivalent of the Bills trading Josh Allen or something like that,
sure.
right? Okay. And just because he was overweight, they didn't want to spend money on him or whatever reason, and they just called up that they call up the Dallas Cowboys. Let's say they needed Josh Allen, right? And just say, we're only going to trade him to you. Mm-hmm. People go crazy. let's just say that team that did, the Buffalo Bills did it. Let's just say they did it, and they have an opportunity to get Drake May instead because you didn't have the ping pong balls dropping the right way. And your entire season, where you're like, at least at the end of the rainbow, we're going to have a top draft choice where we can get one of these great quarterbacks that I'm seeing play every single Saturday on college football Saturdays, and you don't get them because a ping pong ball doesn't drop
Rich,
the right way, you would be losing your mind.
We lost out on those 2 years in a row because of meaningless victories at the end of the season.
And the meaningless victories happen because it means to win. It means a lot to win football games.
Drake May wasn't considered in the same class as Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, remember? And by winning a meaningless game that you saw in person, they lost out on the opportunity to take one of those two players. And then again, it happened again this year. Lost out on the opportunity to take either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. It happened 2 years in a row. Now the lottery makes that possible.
No, thank you. No way.
I don't get why you're not on board.
The reason why the NFL is so popular amongst many others, and I understand there's many others like gambling. There's also many others like it only happens once a week, so there's a whole build up to things. There's fewer games. Yeah. I got all of those things. Yep. The reason why is there's hope. There is hope right now in Tennessee. Last year, the Commanders went from a super fun site to a super place to play.
Yes, but that hope can exist, say, if you win the lottery.
But you don't earn the right to draft that person because you suck so bad. You own the right to draft that person because you are lucky despite your sucking, like trading away Luka Doncic. Or in the case of the Miami Heat, now the lottery has given the Heat pause to say, we shouldn't have even made the playoffs.
But in the NFL,
we made the playoffs, we weren't in the slot that the Mavericks were in. The ping pong balls would have dropped. We would have had Cooper Flag, and they're in a better position to win short-term, long-term than they are the Wizards or the Jazz or the Hornets.
But the major difference between the NFL and the NBA is that in the NFL, major stars do not get traded.
Devontae Adams got traded.
Not in his prime.
Not in his prime.
Okay.
Not at the height of their powers. Russell Wilson traded at the end of his career.
Dude,
look at what happened since.
Dude,
his career is basically over.
We just talked about Devontae Adams. He got traded to the Raiders. He had 2 1,200-yard seasons. That's his prime.
Oh, that's one guy.
He's an anomaly.
Wide receivers are not quarterbacks.
We're
talking about the guys who make the biggest difference.
The guys on the cover of the video games and the magazines.
Like Emmett doesn't leave till he's like older.
This has nothing to do with the fact of, we'll never agree on this, and it's never going to happen anyway. And the NFL's got a pretty good event.
I think you're wrong on that.
The NFL's got a pretty good event the Thursday before the Super Bowl in the NFL Honors.
Yeah.
They can eventize that. Friday. They don't need another one. And you're like,
I think you're wrong about that.
I think
the draft is coming.
This is a sport that needed years to figure out, do we want to make instant replay permanent? It was staring them right in the face of what to do, and they ruminate, then they talk about it, and the unintended consequences. They will never, ever have a draft lottery in the NFL.
I'll take that.
I'll take that bet too.
Great.
The only issue is, are you going to turn down the offer to host it?
Awesome.
6 feet under.
Well, I turned down.
Are you going to turn down the offer to host it?
Dude, I'm contractually obligated to do what they ask of me.
That's what I'm saying.
Friday night.
I want to see you hosting this.
Honors.
It'll be amazing.
I will not host it. It'll be. I don't think we have a deputy commissioner. Whoever's the most smiley-faced individual in the NFL will get it, because that's the Mark Tatum role. I don't know.
Who's the next guy for the kids?
Look at him. He's so happy. NFL version. He's so happy that nobody's worn more of a smile to tell a franchise they're screwed, quite like Mark Tatum.
Who's the NFL's Mark Tatum, though?
Oh, my God.
You're crazy for not wanting this.
And you are crazy for wanting it.
Then that makes me crazy, too, Chris.
I want the event.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.